LaRoche here, intelligence briefing for the U.S. Open. While the U.S. markets were dark, a really interesting pattern took shape over in Seoul. We're talking about a classic case of what we call liquidity displacement. And tonight, we're going to track exactly what that means for this great capital rotation. Okay, let's get straight to it. Answer first protocol. That drop you saw in Korea's main index, the KOSPI, that's just noise. Forget about it. The real signal, the one that matters, is a violent rotation of capital out of those overpriced semiconductor names and into under-owned high-growth companies. The battleground to watch tonight is simple. It's the semi-index, SOXX, versus the Russell 2000, or IWM. So, to really get a handle on this opportunity, we have to pull apart what happened at the Korean close. We've got to separate that true signal from all the distracting noise on the surface. Now, on the surface, this is what everyone saw. The KOSPI index smacks right into that huge psychological wall at 5,000 and gets rejected hard. I mean, this triggered a massive institutional dump. We're talking 1.5 trillion won worth of large cap stocks, hitting the semiconductor giants like SK Hynix especially hard. Now, for most people, this looks like a classic market top. Red flags everywhere. But, and this is the crucial part, this is exactly where the herd gets it wrong. This wasn't capital running for the hills. No way. This was a strategic pivot, a tactical redeployment of assets. So, the big question is, where did all that cash actually go? And that brings us to the core concept for tonight's session, liquidity displacement. You have to understand this to see where the money's headed next. So what exactly is liquidity displacement? Just think of capital like a river hitting a dam. When it slams into a massive barrier, like KSPI 5000, that money doesn't just evaporate. It can't. It has to go somewhere. So it flows sideways, searching for the path of least resistance. And in this case, that path led straight into overlooked growth assets, where investors see a lot more runway. And would you look at this chart? It tells the entire story. While the big, heavy KOSPI index was down, the junior exchange, the KOSDAQ, absolutely skyrocketed by over 7%. I mean, that's not just a small gap. That is a massive, screaming divergence signal that tells you big money did not leave the building. It just moved to a different room. And here it is. This is our canary signal. While the big semiconductor stocks were getting hit, a key supply chain node in the automation sector, a company called Rainbow Robotics, just exploded. We're talking up nearly 26%. And let's be clear, that wasn't retail money. That was a 2.6 trillion won institutional bet on the future of automation, a massive signal activation. So let's visualize this, because it's critical. The capital was never really a risk. It was just locked out of that KSPI 5000 vault. And what did it do? It was immediately redeployed into high-growth laggards. And for us, that translates directly into U.S. tickers like the Russell 2000, the IWM. Okay, but how can we be absolutely sure this isn't just some local Korean market quirk? Well, we follow the money. And for that, we look to the foreign exchange market for confirmation. This is our logic check. It's really simple. If this were a true risk-off, top-of-the-market event, foreign money would be fleeing the country. And when that happens, the local currency gets weaker. But guess what? The exact opposite happened. The Korean won actually got stronger, which is hard proof that foreign capital stayed put. It just got shuffled into different assets. And here's the hard data, the receipt, if you will. The US dollar versus the Korean won pair dropped by 25.21. This confirms it. The animal spirits are still very much alive. They're just hunting for better value. Okay, so now we have these powerful signals from the Asian close. How do we translate them into a concrete, actionable plan for the US session? Let's build that bridge. The battlefield for tonight is set. All right, here is your signal translation matrix. The weakness in SK Hynix, down over 4%, that's a direct bearish vector for US semiconductor ETFs like SOXX. You have to be cautious with the big names like NVDA here. Now, on the flip side, that explosive move in Rainbow Robotics, that's our bullish canary signal, and it points directly to US innovation and automation plays like IWM, ARKK, and Robo. Now, this entire thesis, this whole rotation idea, it all hinges on one single event. So what's the catalyst that's going to either greenlight this signal or tell us it was a head fake? It all comes down to the U.S. durable goods orders data dropping at 10 a.m. Eastern. This number is basically the judge and jury for the whole soft landing narrative. The market is expecting a contraction of 1.5%. This number is going to dictate where the capital flows next. And that brings us to the most important part, the execution protocol. This is where we stop analyzing and start planning. We're turning this intelligence into an actionable strategy with very specific levels.
So there are two clear paths for tonight. First, the bull case. If that durable goods number comes in soft, it confirms the economy is cooling down, which perfectly validates the KOSDAQ's pivot to growth. That's a green light for tickers like ARKK and IWM. Then there's the bear case, the trap. If the Nasdaq futures break below that key psychological support at 25,000, then the whole KOSDAQ surge was likely a false signal, a blow-off top, and it's time to dial back risk.
Okay, here is your final execution checklist. Mission parameters. For the Nasdaq 100, your pivot is 25,200 on the downside. That is our invalidation level. If we break below that, this bullish thesis is off the table. For the Russell 2000, we need to see a clean break above yesterday's high to confirm that the KOSDAQ signal is translating. Your watch list is IWM, ARKK, and Robo. And the most critical warning, do not chase NVDA at the open. Wait for confirmation. The only question left is, will capital follow the path of least resistance? Stay sharp.